Housing News.
Housing Development Progress. Number one and the best. Housing Development Progress. Number one. Number one. Housing Development Progress. Number one and the best. Housing Development Progress. Number one. Housing Development Progress. In Nigeria. Housing Development Progress. In Africa. Housing Development Program and the globe. Number one, Housing Development Program.
Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Housing Development, your number one platform for reliable news, expert insight, and development in the housing and construction sector across Nigeria and Africa. As always, I am your housing diva. This week, we're focusing on a very important theme: urbanization and the provision of affordable housing. As Nigerian cities continue to expand, the pressure on housing infrastructure increases. And today we explore the implications, the challenges, and the solutions shaping the future. We'll also have a special community housing report from Tudu Wada in the FCT, an exclusive interview with town planner Nathaniel Atabije, the immediate past president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners, and a coverage of the 7th Latif Jakande annual lecture. But first, here are the trending stories making waves in the housing and construction sector this week.
Nigeria's Minister of Finance, Wale Edun, has been named the Africa Housing Finance Minister of the Year 2025 by the Africa Housing Awards, an annual recognition of outstanding contributors to the continent's housing and built environment sector. In a statement on Monday, Executive Director of the Housing Development Advocacy Network, Festus Adebayo, said Edun earned the honor for his pivotal role in establishing the Ministry of Finance Incorporated Real Estate Investment Fund, MRIF. Edun was credited with providing strategic direction, driving policy formulation, mobilizing private sector support, and championing the fund's approval, financing, and eventual listing on the Nigerian exchange. The organizer said his leadership has boosted investor confidence, strengthened Nigeria's housing finance framework, and supported the Renewed Hope Housing Program nationwide. The 2025 Africa Housing Awards will take place on December 12th at Fesa Suites, Abuja, bringing together industry stakeholders from across the continent to celebrate excellence and review sectoral progress. The Housing Development Advocacy Network, HDAN, has expressed concern over Nigeria's struggling mortgage sector, warning millions cannot access affordable home ownership. At a recent mortgage finance roundtable in Lagos, HDAN's executive director, Festus Adebayo, said high interest rates ranging from 18% to 30% and bureaucratic hurdles like slow land titling and weak foreclosure laws are major barriers. Adebayo urged the government to strengthen key institutions like the Federal Mortgage Bank and Nigeria Mortgage Refinance Company, support initiatives such as the Family Homes Funds, and introduce mortgage insurance to reduce risks for lenders. He also called for flexible home ownership models and mortgage products tailored to informal workers. He also called for flexible home ownership models and mortgage products tailored to informal workers and youths, stressing that reforms are essential to boost the sector and reduce Nigeria's housing deficit. To read the full details of the news, visit www.africahousingnews.com.
And those are the major headlines trending across the sector. Now let's take a deeper look at one topic that continues to dominate conversations: urbanization and the urgent need for affordable housing.
Urbanization refers to the increasing number of people that live in urban areas. It predominantly results in the physical growth of urban areas, be it horizontal or vertical. Currently the 7th most populous country in the world, Nigeria is set to overtake the United States to become the 3rd most populous country in the world by 2050, according to a United Nations report. Naturally, with growth comes development. But is that the same for Nigeria? Prince Onibokun Abimbola, Principal Partner, Development Planning and Management Consultants Limited, said urbanization was an essential part of global growth, but for Nigeria, he described it as a work in progress.
A city is a center of hope for development. It's becoming a cause because sufficient plans are not being made to cushion, to make the city provide the job and joy of development.
With an increase in growth in population comes an increase in demand for housing. However, Prince Onibokun lamented on the current shortage in the provision of affordable housing for the people, stating that it would even be more of a problem in the future.
There are no sufficient provisions to provide houses for the people. The influx of people is not commensurate with rate of housing construction. So there is acute shortage of houses in the city. Shortage at all levels of demand, both at low, medium, and high income level. There is acute shortage of provision for houses and for infrastructure. And it is a big problem.
Proffering a solution, he said the cost of building materials has to be brought down, easy access to land, and a concept of cross-subsidy, whereby people can pay for houses gradually according to the level of their income.
First, we have to create access to building materials that is affordable. We have to bring down the cost of building materials. We want to reduce the problem of access to land. If you have land, in the villages you can quickly talk to people and get land and build, but in the city, the lands are regulated. So you have to create access to land, access to labor, access to building materials, then even the technology.
Speaking on how the provision of housing is relative in boosting the economy, he said the construction of a house alone is directly providing jobs for people.
One house feeds more than 20 families. The builder, the engineer, the bricklayer, the masons, the artisans, all of them they feed on one house. If the construction industry is booming, the economy will sprout. That's the first principle we must know, because a lot of people are involved. And when you build a house, cement, sand, water, all those elements are involved, and there is a bandwagon effect on the economy. So housing industry alone could create a turnaround on the economy.
Urbanization is a powerful force, but without proper planning, it becomes a burden. After the break, we'll take you into the Tuduwada community here in the FCT, where residents are facing serious housing challenges that reflect broader national issues.
This kind of recognition should feel very, very proud of himself and his efforts. By this award, I think I've done well.
You're watching Housing Development. As promised, we now shift our attention to Tuduwada, a community in the Federal Capital Territory struggling with inadequate housing, poor infrastructure, and increasing population pressure. Here's our special report.
Tudunwada, is an urban slum and shanty in Lugbe FCT, squalid and overcrowded with over 30,000 people with little or no access to basic amenities. A visit to this community highlighted the low presence of government intervention within the Tudunwada area. Speaking with the village head, Malam Mohammed Usman, Sarikin Tudunwada, he highlighted some of the major challenges facing the community, including contributions and support from the people of Tudunwada during elections. Despite all the promises made by politicians for the development of Tudunwada, none has been fulfilled.
The work the government could do are very happy for Nigeria. Then Nigeria want the children to go to school. The children for Tudunwada, they plenty. Many no go school.
So there is no get school here be that?
No day school here.
No government secondary school?
No day. Primary. Go start for primary, government school, no day.
Okay. When I get primary.
Now hospital, no day.
Hospital too, no day.
No day.
Okay.
The community go past 30 years is there here. Okay. The only road, na federal government, na help pay the road. I don't do the work. Small time, if you go check the road now, the road don't spoil now. Nothing there for Tudunwada here.
Nuhu Mohammed, one of the council members of the palace, reiterated the issues facing the community since its existence 30 years ago.
This community has been in existence for the past 30 years. So, but we have never benefited any notable thing from government. It's only that small road of 100 meters that they have done for us. That is the only thing. And we have a lot of people here that are voting during election. And we have generating this thing that they are trying to do here in community.
The only thing we are lacking is the AMA cannot be considerate. They don't come here. We don't see, like in this place, we don't have an urban center. Okay. We don't have a town hall. Okay. We don't have a public latrine. We don't have public school. Okay. So the development we have here is within ourselves. Oh. We'll come together as a community. We decide on what to do. Even the electrification you see here is done by the community. Okay. So all the networks is run by the community.
A compelling story from the Tudunwada community. Up next, we will bring you an insightful conversation with a respected professional voice in urban planning, town planner Nathaniel Atebije, on The Real Conversation. Although I've had previously had this insightful interview with town planner Atebije, but I consider it highly timely and relevant to revisit it now as the nation continues to grapple with the realities of rapid urbanization. All right, welcome back to The Real Conversation. I'm honored to introduce my guest today, town planner Nathaniel Atebije, a seasoned urban planner and the immediate past president of the Nigerian Institute of Town Planners. Welcome to The Real Conversation, sir.
It's a pleasure being here. Thank you for inviting me again.
We visited a community just recently, Tudunwada community in the FCT, very recently, and we saw the harsh living conditions of the residents of that community. So what practical steps can be taken to transform these areas into livable, thriving communities without displacing residents?
Yes. Now, when planning came into limelight, it was taken as if it was a technocratic process, that we are the technocrats, we are the professionals, we plan for the people. And we think of our own ideals and see how we can bring, people who are far below these ideals to the level we are dreaming. That is good, but to some extent, when you compare the lifespan of a man or the lifestyle of a man, at the end of the day, by trying to impose your own standard on the people that have not attained that standard, it's a bit utopian. that you cannot achieve it. And so what do? The essence of what you are doing is to improve the quality of life of the people. And it is good. I mean, you cannot sew a dress for somebody without measuring that person.
Definitely.
So if you want to have a successful urban renewal program, go to the people. Discuss with them. Sometimes we try to prioritize their needs. What are the things that you need? You know, there have been very, there are different approaches to urban renewal. Sometimes we talk about clean sweep approach, in which you just clear everything and rebuild completely. And that is not possible, because there are quite a lot of physical, social, mental problems that will be generated. And the people that you were having in mind to help, at the end of the day, they will be so disadvantaged.
Sure.
Now, because of that, you plan with the people. Get the people together. Discuss with them. These are the problems we are seeing. Let them even know the problems they have in their community. And let them know the challenges that are related to the problems. For example, they don't have water. For example, they don't have sewage system. What are the challenges that come? Quite a lot of sicknesses and diseases, waterborne sicknesses and diseases, which are very, very common. And then, you know, malaria, fever, typhoid, diarrhea, dysentery, cholera, name them. When you make them to know that they can reduce the number of episodes they have in a year in terms of illness or ill health by having, you know, a renewed or an improved environment, they will believe you.
What steps should governments and private sector players take to ensure sustainable urban planning and development?
Thank you very much. That is one of the things I just talked a little earlier, talking about, you know, issues of using undue political influence. Our policymakers should know that the success of their career, or those in the political class should know that the success of their career as politicians relies on the environment they create.
All right, I trust the government, they are listening, and they will surely take consideration to that appeal. All right, so thank you so very much, sir. It's been such a privilege having you here to share your insights. And we believe that this conversation has given us a lot to think about. And I'm sure our audience feel the same way. So thank you so much for your time on the program.
Thanks so very much.
Urban planning and slum upgrades are not just about buildings and infrastructure. They are about people, their lives, and their future. Always enlightening to hear from Town Planner Atebi J. We'll continue with more after the break, including our report on the prestigious Lateef Jakande annual lecture.
Start by appreciating the organizers of the Africa Housing Awards, and particularly my very good friend Festus Adebayo, for putting up together this remarkable initiative, recognizing the efforts of players in the sector and also encouraging them to do more. Is a great way to spur development in the sector and also achieve our collective objectives for the good of Nigerians.
To be recognized for what I would consider work in the course of doing my duties is really a wonderful thing. This is wonderful, and I am really grateful.
Really, really exciting. That's really hard.
Welcome back. The 7th Lateef Jakande Annual Lecture held recently brought together policymakers, housing leaders, and industry experts to honor the legacy of a man whose contributions shaped modern housing development in Lagos and beyond. Here are the highlights from the event.
The 7th Lateef Jakande Annual Lecture convened prominent voices in the housing and built environment to examine this year's central theme, Sustainable Land Development and Urban Infrastructure in Africa. Held in honor of the late statesman and former Lagos State Governor, Alhaji Lateef Jakande, the lecture remains a respected platform for shaping policy discourse and driving progress in housing and urban development across the continent. This year's edition carried added significance as the annual lecture coincided with an event hosted by the Center for Housing and African Research Network at the University of Lagos, further enriching the intellectual engagement and broadening perspectives on sustainable urbanization. Discussions during the lecture focused on innovative land administration systems, modern urban infrastructure models, and long-term strategies for building resilient, inclusive African cities. Housing TV Africa was on ground with extensive coverage. We spoke with Mr. Shehu Usman Osidi, Managing Director and CEO of the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, who shared thoughtful insights on enhancing mortgage accessibility and improving Nigeria's housing finance landscape.
I would say that as an institution we have taken a cue from Baba Jakande, because we all know that he was an epitome of or let me say an icon, okay, and a proponent of affordable housing, that everybody actually deserves a house, okay, which incidentally is the slogan for the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria. So we are taking a cue from the legacies that he left in terms of the provision of housing. Like you know, as Minister for Housing, as Governor of Lagos State, he constructed over 20,000 houses, and which has schools, recreational facilities, and so on. And so that is what we are trying to do as Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria.
In his statement, Honorable Maruf Fatai Akindu, Lagos State Commissioner for Housing, gave insights into the state's ongoing programs aimed at delivering affordable, sustainable housing and strengthening urban infrastructure for a rapidly growing population.
Today, we reflect on a subject that touches the very core of human dignity, the quest for affordable housing in Nigeria, and more specifically, the lesson we must draw from the right people era of Governor Lateef Jakande as we conform to contemporary realities. The story of housing in Lagos and indeed Nigeria cannot be told without pausing to study the Jakande years. His brief tenure as Governor of Lagos State between 1979 and 1983 still stands as one of the most successful housing delivery era in our national history.
Following these key interviews, other distinguished industry stakeholders also delivered compelling contributions, highlighting the urgency of policy alignment, strategic investment, and multi-sector partnership in achieving sustainable land development and resilient urban growth across Africa.
This lecture series held annually in memory of our pioneer presidents, Alhaji Lateef Jakande, has become an enduring platform for shaping the future of housing in Nigeria. Its pioneering social housing programs set a benchmark for government intervention in housing and highlighted the potential of structured, well-financed, and people-oriented housing initiatives.
One of the key things we found with Baba Jakande's housing program, and I hope that we don't lose that, because I understand discussions are going on, was that a lot of the houses were actually placed in very attractive locations. They were placed in good locations. It's important that the housing strategy is inclusive.
Yes, I must commend those who started the idea of Lateef Kayode Jakonde housing lecture. The then Redan President, Ugochukwu Shime, Aliyu Wamako, who continued with it, and His Royal Majesty, the present president, who is sustaining it. Jakonde still lives on. All his projects are still there in Lagos State, providing succor for people. Under the Jakonde housing program, we did not record any projects as an abandoned project. All the building materials that were used for the Jakonde housing project were arranged even before the projects. So what we see in the present situation is the good number of government that are into housing did not prepare for it. Jakonde prepared. Before it was announced as the governor, he already wrote down his agenda. This is what he's going to do. This is the area he's going to build it. And my target audience will be the poor people, the poor workers. Who is sustaining Jakonde housing idea among the governors in Nigeria? As we do this year annual lecture on housing to celebrate the contributions of late Alhaji Lateef Kayode Jakonde, I want to call on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to please spare time to study, to just even listen to us, what we are saying about intervention in the area of housing delivery. We are seeing Renew Hope cities. We are seeing Renew Hope estates. We want to see Renew Hope social housing. That is what we need now.
Before we wrap up today's program, a major highlight in the sector, which is coming up very soon, is a countdown to that day, is the Africa Housing Awards and the induction of new members into the Affordable Housing Hall of Fame. The awards celebrate outstanding individuals and institutions driving innovation and excellence across the African value chain. From visionary leaders to groundbreaking developers and organizations, this year's celebration once again will recognize the best in the industry. I say congratulations in advance to all honorees and inductees. And that brings us to the end of this week's edition of Housing Development. Thank you for joining me as I continue to spotlight the issues, the innovations, and leaders shaping the future of housing in Nigeria and across Africa. I remain your housing diva, Fleur Ani. Do have a lovely day ahead, and bye for now.
Thank you.
Welcome to Trending Housing News.